Hey everybody, welcome to Campus Comics Cast, coming to you from Carbondale, Illinois, with special guests from the Campus Comics crew. And now, here's your host, the man with the previews in hand, Mike No.
Hello and welcome to Campus Comics Cast, coming to you from inside Campus Comics on Main Street in Carbondale, Illinois. First off, I'd like to thank a great friend of the store, Tyler Wright, for the nifty intro music. He wrote it and performed it all himself, and really appreciate it. It's great to have talented friends, as I'm pretty untalented myself. But anyway, we're going to be taking you on a guided tour of the October 2017 previews catalog. To help me do that this month are...
Scott Reed,
Dan Brown,
and Mike Atchison.
All right, and before we get started going through the previews, I'd kind of like to make a clarification. After our last podcast, Dan correctly observed that we're assuming that everybody knows what previews is when we say that and when we talk about previews. If you're not aware of what it is, I apologize that, and I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to right that egregious wrong. So basically, the short version is, in the United States, North America, and many parts of the world, the only company that is a distributor of comic books and related merchandise is a company named Diamond Comic Distributors. And every month, Diamond puts out a catalog of all the offerings that all the different publishers and manufacturers of comic-related merchandise is going to be offering. And that catalog is called the previews, and that's what we're going through month to month. As a rule of thumb, the items are offered in catalog with a 2-month lead time. So in other words, the October 2017 previews that we'll be going through tonight will start shipping to stores in December of 2017. So that's about all I got to say. So anybody want to jump in and start? What do you want to look at this month?
I don't have anything till DC, so I'll let you guys take the start of the catalog.
I've got something in Dark Horse here. We've got a new printing of Incognegro, and I am pronouncing that correctly. It is about a black reporter in Mississippi who is light enough to pass as white, and sort of, about some of the Jim Crow and some of the racial issues we've had in this country. I never read this the first time around. I believe it was originally Vertigo. But Dark Horse is doing a new printing of it now, so I might check that out now since I didn't catch it the first time.
I've seen that as well, Dan. I had a note on that, and I don't typically, other than some of the Lemire stuff, I haven't really purchased much Dark Horse. But this looked really interesting, and it looked like something in good taste, and maybe even uncomfortably so for some readers. So that to me is a sign of a piece of literature that's worth its while.
Then going to page 50, we've got Hellboy Krampusnacht, I guess. It's looks like it's a special that Mike Mignola is writing and then Adam Hughes is drawing. Looks like sort of a winter-themed Hellboy special that's coming out.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that ties in with, like, Krampus.
Yeah, looks like it. Hipster Santa Claus.
Yeah, there are several Krampus-related things in the catalog this month.
Okay, so I guess that's a December release, so maybe they're considering this like Christmas offerings.
Yeah,
that's probably what this is about.
But it does look like nice Adam Hughes art too.
Right.
Don't get a lot of interiors from him anymore.
For sure, and you said Mignola's writing it?
Yeah, it looks like that's what it says.
Very cool. Anything else in Dark Horse? Anybody?
I have a couple things, but I have to roll back even to the previous section to the Dark Horse section, which is what they call Scoop, and it talks about top 3 Wonder Woman keys net over $1.5 million at auction on eBay. And considering Wonder Woman's prominence after her movie, and just being a long-lived character, and I just know a lot of a lot of love for the character. But All-Star Comics number 8, which was her first appearance, along with a copy, that was a 9.4 CGC graded
That's crazy.
copy.
That's
Yeah, it's hard to even believe that's in existence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
A 9.6 copy of Sensation Comics number 1, and a 9.0 copy of Wonder Woman number 1, totaling 1.5 million on eBay. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
I had something else in Dark Horse, which was it's reprints, but something I've learned to gain a better appreciation for thanks to Mike's stock of back issues or reprints of ECs.
And you're
And-
well versed in those now, aren't you?
Well, yeah, well, I do.
Spent a lot of time.
I gotta say that the EC archives, the Vault of Horror on page 55. It's just something that caught my eye is that EC sort of was the birthing grounds of some of the best creators in comics.
Yep.
Bill Gaines, Harry Harrison, Wally Wood, Harvey Kurtzman. Just phenomenal. It's kind of neat to go back and see their early work.
Oh yeah, and those EC things, man, they just always never fail to impress me when I do take some time and read some of those. I mean, those stories, if you stop and think, written in the 1950s,
Yeah.
and they were covering some of the same themes and everything. I had to take pictures of a story, like a 6-page story, and text it to a guy because, I mean, these are the same things that they were talking about in Watchmen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Happening like 40 years before that. 30 years.
Well, yeah,
You know,
it
it's
was
amazing.
before we went backwards in the 50s with, the ultra, the McCarthyism and things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And then everybody was scared of their own shadow, and,
Mhm.
and thankfully we've made our way out of that.
Yeah, I think that one I was talking about was like their Weird Science. I think it was their sci-fi book, and it was talking about a guy staging an invasion from Mars to unite Earth, so we would it's this
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing of what Ozymandias was doing, and just the fact that they did that 40 years earlier
Right.
is amazing. So don't write off books just because they're old. There's some
Yeah.
pretty cutting edge, great ideas in those.
Exactly. The only other thing I have in Dark Horse is Rebels, these Free and Independent States trade paperback. Now I haven't bought the issues, but everything I hear about it, and I love history and almost as much as I love comics, so it's something maybe I'm going to start picking up in trade. Rebels and Briggs Land and things like that. So
Okay.
worth mentioning.
DC,
Yeah, I think so.
page 79, Immortal Men number 1. This has got to be the worst cover gimmick I have ever seen in my entire life because it's a fold up and down cover, so it has a flat
yeah.
bottom and a flat top. And the thing that really kills me about it is, as the advertisement, they show the back cover and say advertisement as what the back cover is. Like, why even bother
Yeah.
showing that?
Oh
Just show
my
the
gosh,
show
yeah.
the vertical fold out.
Scott,
So
my word I wrote down in my notes was gimmicky.
Yes,
big
time.
Come on, this is 2017. I don't like the idea.
I did something like this back when I was in college for an art project where I had a comic that folded out in an untraditional manner like this, but I staged the art to go along with the movement of the folds and how that would open up. This just looks like 3 covers stacked
Yeah,
together,
three random- yes.
like 3 interlocking covers that they're just printing together. I don't know.
So instead of a wraparound cover, it's
Exactly.
like a vertical gate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if there's like something done storytelling wise with that, I think it would be way more effective
Right.
than what it looks like they're doing here.
features an unprecedented vertical
And there's a
fold out
reason.
cover.
Yeah, how many of these are going to get damaged during
Yeah,
shipping
exactly,
now?
yeah.
You know.
In 2 pieces.
Do you get a mint one at the store now?
Now Jim Lee is doing the art on. And of course, that the cover gimmick is through a lot of the books in DC this month. But Jim Lee is doing the art on Immortal Men number 1. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, that can't be
yeah.
past 6. Don't
Yeah,
you think?
if he goes to 6, that'll be a minor miracle, I think.
All right, so my thoughts on this is that I was at C2E2 when they announced this project, and I was mildly intrigued. I like some of the character concepts. I like the idea of the Terrifics. I even like the fact that they're bringing some of these various ideas from different parts of the DC universe into one area. My question with Plastic Man, though, is I'm kind of used to his black and red outfit, and he looks like, if you remember, his son Offspring has that black and white outfit, and maybe they're just doing this to stay consistent with Phantom Girl from the 30. That's weird. I say the 30th century because
yeah.
I'm used to that because I'm from the 20th century. Actually, the 31st century now, and Mr. Terrific. So that's cool. Although, like,
Yeah. Metamorpho can't morph into black and white.
yeah,
What's
right,
that about?
right, yeah, good point. But I always got a bias against Plaz, as good of a character he may be because I'm a Ralph Dibny guy. But that's not anyone else's problem but mine.
You'll still read it, and you'll love it.
Yeah, I will. I think I will. This whole Damage guy, this big beast-looking guy, I have to wonder, they're using the same name as the Grant Emerson character from the 90s that was a legacy character, the son of Al Pratt of the Golden Age, the Golden Age Adam. And I don't think there's any relation, and if there is, it's far off course. What do you think, Dan?
I don't think that's my damage.
By God, you're straight to the point. And
Now
I agree.
that damage evolved into Atom Smasher, right? During
Yes.
JSA. Is that character still around anymore?
No,
'Cause I
no,
was-
actually not. That isn't the same character. Atom Smasher was originally Nuklon from the Infinity
Oh, that's
Incorporated.
right.
He was Al Pratt's godson.
That's right. Okay.
I forget his. It was Rothstein, something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, not the same guy. But I hope this is successful. I have to give credit when there's new attempts, and I don't know what the threshold is for what percentage of success. When you try 10 new projects, and if one succeeds, is that the right threshold, or does it take 3 or 4 or whatever? So I'm interested to see how this goes.
There's a little bit of history of like if it doesn't try, it seems like they revisit it because aren't we like getting Aztec back of all things?
Yeah, we
Like,
are.
so it's
Word
just
up,
like,
Mike.
We're
Aztec's
getting
coming back.
Where's he coming back at?
Justice League of America, apparently,
I
which
knew
we're gonna
because
get to.
Vanity City, his home
Yeah.
base, they've been talking about that in Justice League of America. And honestly, I'm one of the guys that bought all those. It was Grant Morrison that wrote that.
Yeah.
And it was a very good series.
It was
only
him
lasted
and
about 10
it was him and Mark Millar, wasn't it?
Yes.
So right then, where are you going to get them on a book together again anymore?
Exactly.
Think
yeah.
about it. That's not happening.
He's got some pretty cool powers. All draws from those, Aztec,
Yeah.
Montezuma type gods. But
Yeah,
I'm
I
looking
feel
forward
like
to that.
I feel like that was a misstep with that character's origin that kind of doomed that. But
Yeah.
it was a good short run, which I assume will be back in trade if they're bringing him back.
I would think, yeah.
So-
There's not much stuff. It wouldn't take much to put it
Yeah,
He died, so if now's the time, I
Yeah.
guess, to bring him back.
Bring him back.
yeah.
on. Right.
82 and 83 got the second and third issues of Doomsday Clock. Figure out if that Watchmen stuff that they're hinting about is going to be worth anything in the Rebirth universe.
Yeah, I'm really liking the variant covers better that Frank is doing.
Yeah.
For these, we had the Watchmen Superman one last month, and now we've got Lex Luthor contemplating the button apparently on here.
Right.
I got nothing until page 99, so you guys go ahead until 99.
Ooh, what do I got?
We'll
Oh,
talk
I've
about any
got
of the Batman
I got
books, or-
88, where we've got Action Comics this month with the return of Booster Gold.
Oh yeah.
Once again written by his creator Dan Jurgens. So I'm really glad to see that character back. Hopefully they do something with him.
I wanted to comment about that. They do the holiday special, and it seems like they almost always have pretty good stories in those holiday specials. I've had good. I've felt good about them in the past. So,
It's always nice to occasionally get a one and done story out of comics because
Oh,
so
yeah,
much
for-
now is written
for
for
sure.
trade.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have a self-contained story that you can read from time to time.
the best holiday. It wasn't even a holiday special, but it was a Santa or holiday themed story, and I believe it was Justice League of America number 110. Go back, Dan. I'm looking at my fellow historian. One of the best Christmas stories ever in
Yeah.
a comic book. It's really good.
It wasn't the ambush bug stocking stuffer.
No,
Was it that? The other thing we have right next to the holiday special is the Batman Ninja Turtles 2 crossover.
Oh, yeah.
And that first one was really good, and I believe the second issue completely sold out when it came out. So, I think this is the same creative team. It is Freddie Williams, the second, doing the art again. So if you want to get this, get in when it comes out. Don't wait. This will probably sell out like the others, and I think it's all collected now. But I think the individual issues, Last time I checked, I think the whole set's going to cost you about $100 now.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So buy these for cover price.
Yeah.
You know.
When you get the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even when it first came out in trade, I went back to got a few of them in. I sold out when I went back to reorder the trade.
Yeah.
I had to wait for more to come in.
Yeah.
Even the trade sold really well.
Well,
So.
We were talking about action, and I know this isn't in this catalog, but have you guys been following the Mr. Oz storyline?
Yeah.
I'm not because I'm reading it in trade, so
Okay.
I'm just through the first trade so far.
Oh, you
So
won't spoil it.
yeah, so I'm not there yet. So
I mean, I don't have a spoiler, but I have my theories, and it's
I
got
do
to do
too.
with reversing the spelling of the name, and
Yeah.
it's got to,
Yep.
really?
Yep.
Ooh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great minds think
Yeah.
alike. All right, so I just at first I was like, no, that is a sacred cow. You can't bring Superman's father back, and they
Right.
aren't going to. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
going to be some.
And I think there's
And
some
even-
precedence in that too.
Yeah.
Right.
And even
That's
if they
history.
did, within 5 years, it's retconned.
Oh yeah.
You know, nothing's
Yeah,
permanent anymore. Everything's
No.
fluid.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah.
You
Right.
seem so stunned.
All right, sorry.
We've got Batman White Knight #3 coming out. First issue of this just came out. I was probably going to pass on this until Mike said he held one back for me at the store here. I just feel like it's, the concept was a reformed Joker. And I'm like, well, I read the Going Sane story years ago in Legends of the Dark Knight. Do I really want to get into this? But I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this first issue.
really?
It was really well done.
Who's writing that?
That is Sean Murphy, and
Yeah,
he's doing the
he's-
art too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Great credit,
yeah, so it was really well done. It is.
Does he write usually? I don't remember.
I think he does some, not a. I
Okay.
don't think he does a lot,
'Cause I
but
just associate him with the art.
right.
You know.
But yeah, you've got a really kind of stressed out, over the top Batman assaulting the Joker, forcing pills down his throat in front of the media.
Oh.
And then the pills do cure Joker in this first issue, and so now he's up in the law library of Arkham Asylum building his case against the police and Batman. And saying that he has photos of the bat signal and that he will tie in the GCPD as Batman's accomplice in assaulting him.
There's more realistic aspects to
yeah.
what you just said. Me coming from a corrections
Right.
background, a prisoner going to the law library and researching,
Yeah.
some act that he considered a violation of his civil liberties. That's right on the mark. So
Right.
maybe I need to pick that up. Maybe
Yeah.
wait till trade.
I'd really like to hear your opinion on that
Yeah.
too.
Have you been reading Batman? Did you read the War of Jokes and Riddles?
Yeah. I've been kind of mixed with it.
Yeah, I'm mixed too. I don't want to get into that last issue, but
Yeah.
it was. I talked at length with Tyler, our esteemed
Yeah.
musician.
Musician,
Yeah.
But it's worth a talk sometime.
Yeah.
on 99, is anybody reading Deathstroke just out of curiosity?
No, I really like these Ryan Sook covers though that they've been doing.
Okay.
This is. I remember what Dan said last week about Aquaman, and I said to quote Dan, "This is the best comic I'm not reading. I've heard so much good about it, and I know Christopher Priest is an excellent writer, pretty dense and very deep, and
Yeah.
so if I'm going to get into it, I'm gonna have to go back.
Go
and
back to. I'm gonna trade. I think I'm gonna at least do the first trade and just give it a shot. I didn't give it a shot the first time, but I need to backtrack on that and try to pick that up. Oh, variant cover by Shane Davis and Michelle Delecky. I don't know if they're married or, but they're either married or they were at Cape Comic Con a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a.
I tried talking to Shane, and some guy was monopolizing his time
Oh.
for quite a while, and I never got
Scott-
over there.
Scott, what?
I don't think it was me.
I love Shane Davis as Captain Comet.
It was funny. He actually came over to my table. I was there selling, and he came over to my table and started talking about like going to. I was at supper with Jim, Starlin. And it's like, I just bust out laughing. It's like you just throw around names. It's like it's just crazy. So, Jim Starlin. Yeah.
Right after that, we've got Dead Man #2 by Neil Adams. I'm probably going to pass on this miniseries because I'm not a big fan of Neil Adams' writing.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do have an interesting thing here on this cover where it looks like Dead Man is just looking at a big pile of mist. I assume there's another character in there that they've,
Hidden. Yeah.
more elegantly whited out of this cover as opposed to just putting a silhouette. It looks like there, actually is like sort of a fog effect over the character, but I assume he's looking at someone.
Unless it's the mist.
The
from
Mist, the actual
Starman?
The Mist, the old
yeah.
Flash villain.
That's a good idea. That's a good thought. You know, I'm tempted, but I'm hesitant because I was burned by Batman Odyssey that Neil Adams did.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Reign of the Superman, or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, I didn't read that.
I think that was called World of New Krypton that Jeff Johns did a couple years before, but whatever.
All right. Yeah, not too much.
The Flash on page 103 has actually been really good since Rebirth. I've enjoyed that quite a bit. I'm through the first 2 trades, so if you and the TV show just started back up last night
Last
as
night,
we're
I
recording.
think,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Flash has actually been pretty good.
I didn't realize Howard Porter was on Flash. I might need to start picking that up.
Oh, all the art. Okay, I was thinking
Yeah.
variant covers, but yes, it's all the interiors too. Looks like, huh?
I'm at 114 next.
Well, I got Justice League number 34, number 35, and I was just thinking a minute ago, where else did I see Christopher Priest in here?
That's right.
So
yeah.
he's going to be taking over Justice League when Hitch leaves, it looks like.
I hope so.
Oh,
Finally,
yeah.
no Hitch. I don't think his art is even. That last cover of Justice League I thought was phoned in. It was slapped together.
Yeah, like I'm a fan of his artwork. I don't know if I need him writing. So, but
No,
I'll
but-
definitely be checking out this run on
Yeah,
Justice
the
League.
The first Justice League trade was pretty marginal.
Yeah, and I think
quality-wise,
we've got
story-wise.
Pete Woods on art. I think he's done some really underrated art in the past. So hopefully he brings it to Justice League.
And everything I've heard about Justice League and the Rebirth, isn't it? Like it's always universe saving. It's always this grand scale kind of where if everything's special, nothing's special. You know. So you
Well,
can write some
I'll
smaller stories.
disagree with that because I feel like Grant Morrison did a similar thing on his run with Howard Porter in the '90s, and they continuously built, over the course of that run, and it got bigger every time, and it was always captivating. That was the book when I turned 16 and drove to the comic shop. That's the book I would read in the parking lot before I went home.
No, yeah.
I wouldn't wait to read that. That's a great run. They consistently build the threats on that book. I think you have to have talented people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think you
I
have to be
agree.
you have to be
At
creative
first I
enough.
was just like Mike. I was like, not every issue needs to be a cataclysm. But then again, this is the Justice League.
Yeah,
I
you
cut
ha-
my
there has to be
teeth
a reason.
On the world-ending disasters in the 70s, and back when disaster movies were a big thing, So I didn't put it in the framework you just put it in, Dan, with Morrison just being a better writer.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's what it is.
it's someone who's
So,
creative enough
okay.
to handle that. Not everyone is gonna be.
It makes me think. My first thought about War of Jokes and Riddles was, okay, you got all this stuff going on. It's going on for weeks. The Justice League didn't come in to help Batman. So-
I also don't need every fight as a montage either. It gives
Right,
me some
yeah.
actual action
Yeah.
over the course of that story.
But I am like you. I can't wait till Priest takes this. I wanna see what
Yeah, I
he
definitely
does.
want to check that out. Then after that, we've got the Justice League of America we were talking about earlier. Where it is, they are talking about Vanity, so hopefully Aztec is on the way. In that, I'll probably start picking that up too if he's in there. After that, we've got the final issue of the Commandy Challenge.
That's what I was going to ask if that was I can't remember if that was the last issue or
Yeah.
not. So I haven't read that yet, but I want that. That's a definite trade one that I'm going to be picking
That's
up.
definitely been a good book.
Hey, the one written by Tom King. This last one I read. What issue was that? 7, 8, maybe.
Probably around 9
yeah,
or maybe
yeah,
8 or
in
9.
that ballpark anyway.
It
So
was unbelievable. And King's known for his moments. He's known for his. This was just one of the best stories I've read, and I compare it and contrast it with DC Challenge of the '80s, which was not very good. And this Commandy Challenge is a read. Wait till the trade comes out. It's just a great romp through the Commandy world. It just sums up, what was that, a 56 issue run, it sums up that world in a way that anyone can come in and go, this is really cool. Yeah.
cover by Frank Miller on that last issue, and then epilogue. Lynn Wein, we were talking about Lynn Wein earlier on. Is apparently wrote the epilogue for that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and does
that should
anybody
be
know
interesting.
that maybe the last thing he did? Has anybody heard
No
anything
idea.
about that?
Yeah, no idea.
It's got to be close. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you were saying too about picking it up in trade, it probably will be a great trade, but I'm really enjoying the serialized nature of this with the cliffhangers, the
Right,
month
yeah.
to month. It really plays into that.
Yeah, I kind of meant
Well,
that more for people that are
Oh, sure.
at this point jumping on is going to be kind of hard to figure
But
out.
how many books do we read now that are decompressed for trade collections? This book is not. This is action, crazy
It
stuff
is.
every issue because you have a different writer doing each issue, but it really kind of brings back that kind of old school,
Yeah.
cliffhanger theme with it.
Did we I was looking at Mr. Miracle number
Okay.
5, and we talked about it last.
Yeah, I talked about last time. So
But that cover just really sums up, just the opposite of what we talked about, the Justice League world-ending catastrophes. But this moment with him sitting on a beach outside of a theme park with Big Barda.
Barda.
I'd buy that. I'd spend the $4 for the cover alone.
Yep.
Don't try to do that though, Mike.
Okay.
I'm gonna push you.
I'll just say
I'm good till 139. So
I got. I just want to comment on page 137 about Checkmate, Volume 2, trade paperback. I don't know if Volume 1 was in last issue or last previews or not, but Checkmate by Greg Rucka. And I want to say that Jesus Saiz was the artist for a big portion of that run. Easily one of the best series of the 2000s. Easily. I don't care if you get it in back issues. I don't care if you get it in trades. Read Checkmate. It's nothing. It's way beyond what you've seen in the 90s. So my recommendation for the night, if I have no other.
Well, go to 139.
I was just gonna throw out the superpowers trade.
That's what I'm gonna throw out
Okay,
too.
all right. Just because of the toy line and Jack Kirby, and I hear it's terrible, but it looks like it could be some fun.
When I was 10, this was an amazing series. I picked
When you were 10.
I picked these up in dollar biz. I'll still go back to it. I'll still read them now. These were good stories. It was a tie into the toy line that Kirby also designed those figures back
Yep.
in the 80s. But this is a rarity in that this is Kirby drawing most of the main DC characters.
Yes.
And that's about the only time you really got that. You've got, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman. Then you've got Darkseid and his Fourth World characters, but it was rare that you got Kirby drawing Batman and Robin.
I wish they would have put the third volume in there, even though it's not drawn by Kirby.
Yeah, I
that
think-
they should have put the Carmine Infantino in there as well, because I think it still had the Kirby covers, just Carmine Infantino interiors. Do you remember?
I feel
I
like
believe
it.
so.
Yeah. So I wish I would have put all three in there, just as a completist.
The
But
the third definitely is the weakest of those books,
Okay.
but yeah, I can understand why they wouldn't
Carmine
include it in
Infantino
this.
even more so than Kirby had. He had jumped the shark or gone over.
Yeah.
Past his prime. I mean.
Yeah.
But even this, Kirby. This was. I loved it. I'm like you. I just absolutely love this series in the 80s.
Yeah, and it's I know it's a tie into a toy line, that kind of thing, but I feel like it is really an underrated chapter in Kirby's work. I know a lot of hardcore Kirby guys aren't big fans of it, but Tyler told me he just picked some up the other day.
Oh, yeah.
at a
He's
flea
down
market.
for, down for this trade.
Yeah,
So
so-
he wants to read it.
I've got all the issues sitting in my to read pile, so
Yeah.
they're there.
Well,
I just got to
I
get
don't
around
know.
to them.
How tall is your 2 read pile?
it's actually not that bad. I got 2 magazine boxes full. That's my to read pile, so it's not too bad. So
What's that? Okay, what's everybody else's?
around.
9 or 10 short boxes, but I'm including back issues that I buy.
Yeah.
So
well, I get to the point where sometimes I take stuff out of the to read piles. Like I'm not going to get to this, so I just finally just say I'll come back to it later if I get a chance. So
what about you, Dan?
I've got 2 long boxes and 2 short boxes of back issues to read that I haven't got to yet, and then I have 2 long boxes of trades and hardcovers. That's where I'm at right now.
To the G.
That's where I'm at right now after the
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah, you win.
yeah, mine's not too bad.
after the crazy convention season.
Yeah.
And I put some dumb stuff back in my to read pile. Like I have the first 12 issues of Alpha Flight in my to read pile right now, just because I want to go back and revisit that. So and I don't know why, but it's there. So
Scratch that itch.
Right after that, too, we've got the Superman Exile and Other Stories omnibus. This is sort of a weird time for Superman. This is post John Byrne, before Death of. And I think there's some really overlooked stuff in that run. I think there's some really good stories in there. This would be after he executes the Phantom Zone criminals at the end of Byrne's run, kind of loses it and goes off into space. There's some really good stories here. There's some really good stories after this, so I hope they do another volume collecting the Day of the Krypton Man storyline, which I don't think has ever been collected.
When you say unrated, it goes right in line with Roger Stern, one of the
Yeah,
best
absolutely,
writers that
for sure.
doesn't
And he
get
was a
credit that-
big architect of this run
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
So
141 just Tales of the Batman Gene Colan Volume 2. So Gene Colan on Batman, it would at least be pretty to look at if regardless of how the stories are. So
You know, when I first read these Batmans off the racks at the time, I had no idea that Gene Colan spent all that time at Marvel. I didn't read any Marvel. I didn't realize he made his name over there on, Werewolf by Night or Tomb of Dracula or whatever.
Dracula.
Tomb of Dracula.
Yeah.
But to me, he seemed like the way his art style was the most suitable. He and Don Newton. I remember thinking these guys were made to draw Batman. Just perfect.
Was there a Don Newton collection recently or something like that?
I believe
Of Batman
so.
stuff? I thought I saw something not too long ago, but
He died very young.
after that, going into Vertigo, we've got Astro City number 50. Not the 50th issue of Astro City, but for this run, and it looks like it's the beginning of a new arc, but I don't think I've ever read a bad issue of Astro City.
I was wondering if that's still held up.
Yeah, that still is a very strong book. A lot of cool concepts they just kind of throw in there, but always worth it.
And music's still right in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine
I don't
anybody
know
else.
a thing about Astro City. I wish I guess I need to jump in with both.
Yeah, I definitely would. I would think you would enjoy it.
Music was at Metropolis Superman Celebration a couple years ago. I said, I'm going to go buy the first trade of Astral City from him, get it signed, and that's where I'm going to start. He didn't bring a single comic book with him to sell or anything on. Yeah, it was terrible. It's just like, gosh.
Oh boy.
I'm done with DC, so whatever you guys go on,
Well,
run
here
with
in,
it.
here in the collectibles section, we've got this month's Batman Black and White statue. Usually I can pick out who the artist is pretty quickly, but this one is Jonathan Matthews, who I wasn't familiar with, but he's one of the sculptors.
Yeah.
So it looks like they've given him his own Batman statue to do, and I think it looks pretty nice.
Yeah. You remember when we went to the Derby City Con together down in Louisville? The guy that was right across.
Yeah,
from us?
yeah.
And I bought a couple of the black and whites. He like did the original Bruce Timm style Harley Quinn black and
Oh,
white.
yeah.
He did the original Mike Mignola black
Oh,
and
yeah.
white, which they're doing a color reissue.
Yeah,
of
but it's a
that's
real
larger
big version
scale.
too, right?
Yeah, but he's the sculptor on that. So he's
Okay.
a very talented guy, very diverse, and he was just amazing to watch because he would take a pile of clay, and as you're sitting there just talking to him, he's just it's amazing. Like you
Right.
see guys doing that sketching, but
Right.
you're not used to seeing them do it with clay.
Yeah.
You know?
That to me is more amazing than drawing. That three-dimensional artistic.
Right.
On the same page, I do like, just because it's Joelle Jones, the Supergirl statue. I
Yeah.
met her at C2E2. Just a sweet person, and I told her her art style reminded me of Amy Reeder. Is it Hadley, or maybe it's just Amy Reeder? She did that Madame Xanadu
Oh, yeah.
series. Real clean lines. Just listen to me talk like I know art.
How long you been reading comic books?
Yeah.
A long time.
You
I
know,
just
you know,
I like
you
it.
know art.
Yeah. But she's just great, and I like that statue.
You know what you like.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Denise, if you're listening,
Yeah, I would like to go back and look.
Yeah.
I would encourage that if you're a Mignola fan, and his Batman. It's kind of odd to me, but I mean, it definitely captures that. His look, his art. I can't imagine being the guy that could actually translate that look into 3D, but it's pretty spot on. On the page after the Mignola Batman statue, and again, that's back to the Batman. It's part of their DC Designer Series, which for the money, you're talking about $150 retail. You get a nice 12-inch statue. The paint on these things has been impeccable. Everything. It's just really good value for the money. Those that are longtime statue collectors go all the way back to the days of Bowen. It's on that line with that kind of scale, that kind of quality, but by the time Bowen was done, he was doing $225, $250 for a statue.
Right.
So now to have 150, it's not bad if you're a collector.
So for these listeners out here, anyone that's listening, I didn't really get into statues until late in my comic career, so to speak. But it is the one thing that reminds one of their love for comics on a daily basis if you have a couple on your shelf. Even if you're not a collector, even if you don't know the first thing about who who designs them, pick what you like and buy it, and you'll be happy with it.
Right. Yep. And that's a lot of my attraction here. I was never a big collector, even a really big reader, but I was always about the art. And then in my later days, as a model building kid back in the late 60s, early 70s, that's kind of what really draws me the most is the collectible and the 3D kind of stuff. So also in this is the next edition, in this catalog is the next edition to their ever popular Bombshells line for DC. and this is the Green Lantern Jessica Cruz statue, and she's kind of like a space traffic cop, kind of is the theme for that one. There's also the latest red, white, and black Harley Quinn statue, which is a smaller scale statue, just like the black and white Batman statues, and this is based on the art of Babs Tarr. I'm sorry, I was kind of hesitating on the name there, but she was the one that kind of revamped Batgirl during the New 52
Right.
run with the Batgirl of Burnside.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of style of that, So
Well, going back to that Jessica Cruz Green Lantern, I think that's one of the most innovative styles. One thing great about Green Lanterns is that, I mean, Guy Gardner broke the mold.
Oh, yeah.
And really showed us as readers, you don't have to even be an alien to have a really unique costume and
Right.
still be a Green Lantern. This is along those lines. And what I love is she has her handcuffs. Like Mike said, she's in this Bombshell edition. She is a traffic cop. Her handcuffs are a construct. This is great. It's going to go right next to my Hawk Girl Bombshell.
there you go. Mm-hmm. So I'll just put you down right now.
I've done that before.
Put him down for 2.
Dude, one to stay in the box.
There you go.
But,
Yeah,
just
so-
a few more statues, and Dan touched on a couple of them already, but pretty good offerings this time around.
IDW.
My first thing in IDW is Back to the Future, Tales from the Time Train, where it looks like it's Doc Brown and his family when they were on the train that shows up at the end of the original Back to the Future trilogy. So that's sort of a, think might be an interesting sort of story there of what they do with that. Also, it looks like IDW has a lot of these artist edition variant covers that I'm pretty sure they've done in the past also, but it's sort of more look at just the original art done for some of these covers.
160 ROM and the Micronauts. So there's my 2 toy lines
get a two-fer.
just in one book. So that's something I'll definitely be picking up. 180. My next thing's on 182. So you guys stop me.
That's my page.
Okay, then I'll let you go 182 first.
Surely you're not interested in the Popeye.
Well, I was just going to mention. I hear you're from that town. That has all the Popeye stuff. So I was going to ask you if you were picking any of this stuff up.
Well, I'm not a Popeye collector, so to speak, but you're right. Chester, Illinois is the home of the creator of Popeye and all the characters that went along with that strip. And I mean, it just kind of hits me in the warm spots of my heart. But it's probably anybody that wants to learn something about Popeye. This great comic book tales book by Bud Sagendorf, it would be something to pick up. It's only $20, and it's an encyclopedia of collected stories. So my the personal story to go with Popeye for me is that my grandmother, she knew some of the characters that were the people that were these characters were based on. So specifically Olive Oyl, my grandma, she was born in 1911, so she'd be 106 now. She said that this woman who, I forget her name, but she's buried in the Evergreen Cemetery, the real person, but she worked at a general store downtown Chester. And Popeye was, I want to say it was Buster Siegel or something like that was his real name. The reason they had this whole sailor theme, he was a riverboat pilot, and he was a drunk. Don't sue me, anyone who's in the family. This is stories I've heard. But
Allegedly.
he liked to drink and fight, and that's where L.Z. Seeger got the idea from. Was based on this guy, and I'm probably butchered, but the fan club is based in Chester. I mean, the people come from all over the United States and around the around the country and the world to come see that stuff. So. Yeah, that's why I mentioned that. I'm glad you did too. It makes me feel better.
Like I said, I just was going to ask you about it. So that
But like
Chester
I said,
connection.
That trade paperback's 180 pages for $20.
Not bad.
I mean, what the heck? That's great.
Right next to that, on the next page, we've got We Spoke Out, Comic Books in the Holocaust, which is probably a more heavy read than Popeye.
Yeah.
But, it is, talking about sort of comics and their history with World War II and that. And looks like Craig Yo contributed to this also. And we've got a Neil Adams cover. I see one of the artists listed as Stan Lee, not a writer. So I don't know if that's a typo or if maybe he did draw something up for him in that.
So anything else IDW?
think so.
Image?
I'm ready for Image.
Image? All right. My first thing in Image is Bonehead #1, and I actually, until I looked at the extra Image preview on that, it really didn't even jump out at me. But it basically looks like parkour meets gang wars. So I usually try to like pick the one Image book that I think might actually be worth some money. You know, you try to hit that next Walking Dead, you know,
right.
so you buy a couple issues of them, just stick them back just in case, and I'm always wrong. But that's my guess for
That's
this
your
month
pick.
is Bonehead #1. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
grab a few of those and cross my fingers.
Yeah, that's one that kind of popped out to me too. It's like I don't get a lot of Image stuff, but I am looking for some new indie books to check out, and this one looked like it might be interesting. It is kind of a cool cover there with that main character.
Yeah, and it is nice where they have that Image preview. I wish they would just include that in the regular catalog, but you got to see some interior pages of it, and actually that
Is that in the Image Plus
yeah, it's in the
thing?
Image, yeah, the Image Plus, yeah, it's in there, so it actually looked pretty good. So, and then I got 198, and just to mention this, I don't know how this series lasted to 80 issues, but Elephant Men is on its
Wow.
last issue at issue
Really,
number
got
80.
one guy that still buys it.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
So
John Molester that used to work here. I mailed it to him. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Wow, I wonder if he's the one guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes if you're a completist, the last issue is tough to pick
Oh,
up
for sure,
sometimes.
yeah.
So you know that
Absolutely.
might be one you want to get in on that
I don't know
order.
how many times I've been bitten by that.
Yeah, if you think you're gonna try to get them all. So yeah, it was pretty light on Image for me for this month.
I only have one comment on Image. It may be a little bit farther ahead than where you guys are, but Savage Dragon. And the only reason I mention it is because
One guy that buys
somebody,
that, too.
Savage Dragon,
Yeah.
is it currently the longest running series in comics? I know Cerebus went a long time.
Yeah, Cerebus went to 300.
300.
Yeah.
I think Spawn's ahead of it issue count for being
Spawn.
yeah, because like Spawn's like at
280,
well, it's on the
281.
same.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
281 for Spawn, but I mean, yeah, Savage Dragon, but by the same creator, I think maybe only Cerebus beats it out.
Right. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
that's the
okay. I see
thing.
what you're saying.
Because
Yeah.
you still have Eric Larson, one of the Image founders, still working on this
Right.
monthly book.
yeah.
So I think even within the company, he's got that.
Right.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, the other thing that's unique about Savage Dragon is it's basically in real time. It has been 20 some years, continuity wise, since that story started. The story now follows his son, who's an adult now. So it's not the same Savage Dragon as when it started in the early 90s, but
That's
it is still.
refreshing, in
Yeah.
this day and age.
Oh,
of,
for sure.
Stretching and condensing timelines.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing of like you can reboot without starting from scratch.
Right.
He's changed up so many different things over the course of that book.
Right.
It starts to slag, and then it's like, oh, he's stuck in an alternate world for 30 issues. It's not a cut and dry kind of thing. Like he's all over with that book, and it has gotten kind of not safe for work lately over these last couple of years. So maybe not appropriate for the 10-year-olds, but it's still an entertaining book.
It was risky kind of early on too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm also seeing, keeping with the Krampus additions to this catalog, we have Spawn, a Holiday Krampus Tale one-shot. And looks like you've got Todd McFarlane writing that with a couple other guys. And it looks like he's inking the cover maybe on there. Oh, and after that, we've got the Wicked and the Divine Christmas Annual. I don't read this book. I don't really know anything about this. I just want to point out that this has got an ugly Christmas sweater cover. As a designer, I will tell you those things look very simplistic. They are a pain to do. These things are so difficult to create. It looks simplistic and like it'd be 5 minutes. It is not. If you see those designs, appreciate them. Someone's slave
Reverence.
to give you that design. So don't take those for granted.
Duly noted.
One thing I would like to mention before we leave Image here is it's one of the previous things you were talking about was somebody just briefly mentioned Image Plus, which is a monthly magazine that Image is putting out. And if you buy a previews catalog, you get one of those for free. But I kind of wanted to point out that I'm not sure a lot of people are aware because nobody's picking them up because you don't have to buy the previews to get it. You can buy the magazine separately. But Scott Snyder's second arc of Witches is being printed only in that magazine. I don't know if it's going to come out in trade later, but it was, as far as there's not being issues printed of his second arc of that book, it's being included in the Image Plus magazine. So don't miss that, because that was extremely popular when that first arc came out a few years ago. You know, good solid horror book. One of the few comics I've read recently that actually just kind of creeped me out reading. You know, that first arc. Very Stephen Kingish and very weird. You know what I mean? But it's kind of creepy. So if you're a fan of that stuff or you liked that book, be sure and pick up Image Plus. It's the only way to get it until it's collected.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in these current issues, but I had heard that Ed Piskor was going to be doing a story in there too.
Okay.
And he did the amazing Hip Hop Family Tree, which we will be discussing later. But for right now, is that everything for Image?
Yeah, are we ready for Marvel?
I think so.
Well, as if it's any big surprise, the adult Jean Grey is returning, and I only mention this because there's an Art Adams variant cover. So
I
that's
love Art Adams.
yeah. So that's the only reason why I even bring it up is can't hardly get enough Art Adams art.
I see with this too, they're doing, and I've seen this a few times through the catalog here, for the Phoenix Resurrection story, we have a remastered variant cover by John Byrne. I'm assuming by remastered is we dug up some of his old art that we own and we've recolored it. And it does look really nice. Is John Byrne getting a cut for this? Because I feel
For
like
John Byrne's sake, I hope he does.
Yeah.
But,
I saw a few months back too, they did variant covers with Jim Lee's old X-Men card art from back in the early 90s.
Right.
Jim Lee's, big wig at DC now,
Yeah.
doing Marvel covers. Like, kind of.
Be an intellectual property. Too bad.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
One of the things I'm excited about in the catalog here is this new Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah, very cool.
Not so much about the return of Marvel 2-in-1, but the fact that we have Thing and Human Torch teaming up, because the FF has been absent from Marvel for
a long
a few
time.
years now.
But why aren't they going? Why isn't this issue 101 instead of issue 1? Because the legacy numbering, it should be.
How long did we think it was going to last that Marvel would do a #1 issue?
Yeah, right. Well, I think the money was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone
Yeah.
else brought it up. But
Oh,
that
yeah,
is-
for sure.
I'm with Dan on this. That's the one. I read Legacy. I wanted to. Oh, this is a good time to see what's going on. If there's going to be, somebody that's a peripheral Marvel fan, a place where I can jump on.
Yeah.
Go forward with. I really did like that Legacy one shot.
Yeah.
If I could just figure out where to go from there.
Oh,
That's
for
my
sure.
question. I don't know where to go from there. Now, granted, when Rebirth came out, because I know DC, I know all kinds of things about DC. I knew where to
Right.
go, what titles I wanted to follow. I don't know that, and there's really no guide that I can think of. But what appeals to me is this Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah.
And I can. There was other storylines that were, sort of. Being birthed in Legacy that I thought would be cool to follow, but I just don't know if
Yeah,
I'm
I'm in exactly the same boat as you are. I'm a DC guy. I'm like, I'll pick up Marvel Legacy. It'll probably relate to something I read Marvel later on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I was really surprised by how well that special was. I don't know where to go from here.
I
You
would
know?
say Captain America, because at this point you got Wade and Somni
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
book, so that's probably going to be a solid book, at least as long as they're working on that one together. So beyond that, it's tough to say.
And if you are still looking for the Marvel Legacy special, we still got some
We
available
got-
here.
We got some here, so
Yeah.
if you're looking for that, we have some variants.
And it stands
Sunny
alone.
is
I
very-
mean,
Oh, yeah.
if you don't know anything about the Marvel Universe, you can still enjoy the read.
Cool.
It's the other title I'd like to maybe, because I like the concept of the Avengers in, 1 million BC.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That
That's
sounded
kind of a neat
kinda
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did. The special, just in general, really did feel like the DC Universe Rebirth
It did.
special from
Really?
last year.
That's solid.
Yeah, but it even felt like a page from DC's playbook.
Oh,
I feel like they looked at that Rebirth special and then they created this Marvel Legacy. Maybe it wasn't that cut and dry, but that's the impression I got reading it.
One more thing on that Marvel 2-in-1, there's a variant Kirby cover, the T-shirt cover.
Yeah.
Why don't they just put out a T-shirt with
I
the?
know.
That's what I want. Is I want to
Yeah.
buy that shirt.
Yeah, it feels like a weird choice.
Yeah.
The
Without-
unfortunate thing about those variants like that is one of their incentives that are
Yeah, it's
pretty
tough
high
to get.
numbers.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they had the Doctor Strange one last
Yeah.
month, and
Yeah, that
and
cool old school art. One good thing too, I mean, it might bode well for what you're interested in, Mike. Is I think on that Marvel 2-in-1 and in Chip Zdarsky writing it, and he's a really
He's a really
good writer.
He's a clever writer.
Yeah, very clever. So I think that bodes well for that.
page 18. The only reason, again, I don't read Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, but I like the Mobius homage Silver Surfer cover.
Right.
I do like that one. And then let's see, I'm
I didn't even notice that. That's great.
page 21, 100th issue. Now here they keep the original numbering. They go to
Right.
issue 100 of Tales of Suspense. So Tales of Suspense is back. So on page 21, I'm up to 29. Somebody stop me.
I haven't been reading Amazing Spider-Man right now with this run, but I've just been noticing there's a lot of great Alex Ross covers that he's doing right now. We've got the 792 as part of a Venom story. We've got this really cool, monstrous, real veiny looking Venom, but again, it looks like somebody's silhouetted out here, and we don't know who that is. There's no way Alex Ross is just using negative space like that. That's obviously a Photoshop edit for some reveal. But I've just been noticing the really nice Alex Ross covers they've had.
Okay, folks, you just witnessed a true artist professional, someone who knows art, to observe or make an observation that no one else here could have made. So thank you, Dan.
Well, I also called that Blue Beetle died a few years ago from the shadow of the goggle on that cover that him and Jim Lee did
Thank goodness
back
I
in
didn't
the
know you,
day.
because that was a true that one kind of freaked me out whenever I read it.
Yeah,
real time.
I was looking at that cover like, who's that a silhouette of? Not that many guys have goggles. It's got to be Blue Beetle.
Very well done.
Page.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying that you talked about Wade. The reason to read Captain America and the relaunch of it is Wade and Samney. Wade and Jesus Saiz that I mentioned about being the artist
Right.
on Checkmate.
Mm-hmm.
10, 15 years ago. His art, if you haven't really paid attention, it's some of the best. It's fantastic. He also did that Manhunter, the female Manhunter,
Oh,
the
right.
woman attorney. Yeah, so that's another reason, Mike. I'll be putting
Okay.
down the Avengers.
Okay, he's in Avengers too?
Back on 29. We already talked about Captain America, but Ron Lim was my artist from Silver Surfer for a very long time, and he was on Captain America, and he's got a variant cover this month on the Captain America book. But I just got to throw out Ron Lim whenever I get the chance.
Yep.
So
He did. Didn't he do? It was with Perez. He did the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, yeah, he did that, and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes way back to like Eradicators and X-Mutants, and I mean he's done all kinds of stuff, and you don't hear a whole lot about him anymore. But I'm up on 35 next. I guess I scared every month. Is this gonna be the last? Is this gonna be the last Jane Foster issue? So I mean, she's still here. She's still here at this point. So
You know, I had her role in Legacy was just great. She talked like Thor, the male Thor. It wasn't like a diminutive.
no.
She was bad ASS. When we say that,
Yeah.
she was awesome, and that was one of my favorite characters in that Legacy issue.
I love Jane Foster Thor. She's one of my
I do too,
favorite
yeah.
comics right now. It is just so good, and I'm gonna be upset whenever we know it's got to end at some point. and seriously, I mean, when you have a character that's dealing with cancer in the Marvel universe, that's one thing that they don't. The only time I know that they've kind of skipped over that was like in the Doctor Strange: The Oath, where he got Wong the cure. But for the most time, when a character like Captain Marvel or whatever, they don't just toss that to the side like they do a lot of other
It's
things.
surprising too that it's still going on because Ragnarok is a little over a month away
Yeah,
from being released. You would think for sure they would be up to speed
Right.
with classic Thor before the movie comes out.
But that speaks to the. Again, I don't know enough about Marvel to really speak much on it, but what I hear is the disparity between the comics and the movies is what has kind of. It hasn't drawn any new readers in because
Right.
they're not the same characters
Not
as
the
what
same
they're seeing
characters,
in
yeah.
the movies.
Right.
But the Mighty Thor is absolutely a book to be reading every
Absolutely.
month or trade or
And
whatever. It's
and
good,
it's one of the
good,
better
good.
selling Marvel titles. in
It's
the store.
really good.
Yeah.
Jason
People
Aaron
really
and his
like it.
daughterman.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Jason Aaron. It seems like just in general. On page 38 here, we have the Marvel graphic comic box for Phoenix Resurrection, where this is just a short box you can keep your books in. But if you're just starting out, have a smaller collection, there's probably something good to pick up that's fun. I've had some of my same short and long boxes for almost 20 years now. They're all beat up and banged around. I wish I'd had like more colorful boxes like this to start with instead of just looking at a wall of white all the time. So
You know,
I
it
think
is
there's
worth
kind
a
of
couple
neat
extra
thing.
bucks,
Yeah,
it is,
you know.
It's definitely.
Yeah, and I picked up the Secret Empire one that they did earlier because I thought, oh, this is a really cool way to tie into their big summer event. And now it seems like they're doing them every month, so maybe it's not as special, but it's, you know, it's a cool thing. You know, something a little different, makes, you know, a little nicer boxes. You know, comics are colorful. Your collection should be too, to an extent.
I'm up to page 53. I'll go ahead and you guys can backtrack. But I'd missed that Chris Sprouse was the artist on Black Panther. Was he on last month too, or was this his first month on that book?
I couldn't say I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed his art. So
I didn't notice that either. I just never get past the Stell Freeze covers because I loved his.
Oh, yeah.
His covers back in what was that, Shadow of the Bad?
Yeah.
That he did back in the '90s. That was just great stuff.
Yeah, he drew the best Asbats, you guys. I seriously loved his rendition of that character back then.
I haven't been reading Black Panther, but I am really intrigued to see what they talked about. Again, I'm talking about Legacy. It's the one Marvel book that I read, but they're talking about, you know, there being a intergalactic civilization that's tied to the Wakanda, you know, the nation that was settled in the Wakanda, which is, to me, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, you know, I mean, all that technology they have,
right?
That really sounds like a cool concept. Now, I've heard that Ta-Nehisi Coates is a very dense and hard to get into writer, even more so than Priest, which is ironic because Priest spent all those years on Black Panther.
Building it up, yeah.
Right. So, but I don't know. I can't speak from first-hand experience.
I'm through the first trade. Obviously, I'm way behind on Black Panther, but it was pretty good. I liked it quite a bit, so I think it's a pretty good read. So if you can stand and not have constant action and subplots and all that type of stuff, which I enjoy that in comics, so I think that's a good one to read. I'm up to 95 now.
Well, I'm going to stop at 77.
All right.
Where we have X-Men Grand Design #1 by Ed Piskor, who I mentioned before, creator of Hip Hop Family Tree, which I found to be a great book. It's sort of a history of hip hop and rap music. If you love rap, and as you can tell, we're all of us here are from the streets. It is an amazing book for what is mostly just an oral history of that music. But Ed Piskor has made it so accessible and such a fun read, and he has created the artwork of the books to look like they are from the early 80s when all this was happening. So the pages are yellowed. Every now and then there's somebody's name written on a page for no reason, like a back issue you'll find somewhere.
That's it's only 2 issues too, so.
Yeah, well, this is also, I have kind of been reading about this. He just announced this project at San Diego, and I think this is volume 1 is what it's going to be. I think there's going to be some more. So he's kind of taken the formula he's approached to the hip-hop world to the X-Men, you know, continuity-wise. So this will be sort of an in-story history of the X-Men, kind of presented the same way. And we still have the same sort of old-school-looking art with the sort of yellowed pages and things here. So I'm really interested to see where he goes with this and how he kind of condenses down the X-Men's history the way he's been doing with rap music. I don't have anything else until Darth Vader. I don't know if anybody else
Go for it.
has anything. It looks like in the solicit here, it reads, as the threat of the Jedi continues to menace the fledgling Empire, Vader finds himself on the trail of Jedi his master has commanded him to keep alive. It looks like from this shot that they are in the library that we saw in the prequel movies. And I'm assuming the shadowy figure in the foreground is the keeper of the library from the Jedi Temple. So I assume that's who Palpatine has ordered to keep him alive. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see, you know, you would assume that she's being kept around due to her knowledge and, you know, the dark side wants to manipulate her in some way. So I feel like that's an interesting story that they could tell in that book.
I was just noticing how many Black Panther
Movie's coming.
Oh,
yeah, movie's coming.
Is it January? Is it January or?
I don't know, but it needs to be February.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that's what they do.
They're even selling a digest, Black Panther digest. Is that working with Archie like they were? I thought the only digest.
I think so. Yeah.
For the distribution. Yeah.
Now, what page is that on?
That's on 102.
Oh, well, I'm gonna go back to 95 then.
I'm gonna go back to 93.
Then I'm gonna stop.
What do you think of that?
You're gonna go 93.
Here on 92 and 93 here, it looks like we've got a bunch of True Believers specials coming out. And it looks like these are all Phoenix related because of the Phoenix Resurrection storyline.
And if you don't know, there's a reprint issues that they offer for $1.
Yep.
So I get the Marvel Unlimited subscription, so I read a lot of my Marvel digitally. But I picked up a bunch of these they did for Kirby's centennial birthday, and I thought they were really fun. It is, there is something to actually reading the physical book like that, and so I might pick up some of these.
I don't understand why they put the Jean Grey X Factor FF issue, but they didn't do the Jean Grey Avengers issue. That was the 2-part of that. They should have done both of those issues. I don't know why they didn't do both.
Yeah, and it doesn't say, because it just says it reprints the one, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
So they should have. 95. At this point, I'm assuming this is the next to the last Jane Foster Thor trade. So that's definitely one to pick up. Again, it's a terrific story. So I can't say enough about that one.
Look at the definition. I mean, she is definitely the Marvel Wonder Woman. I mean, normally you think, well, it's probably got to be She-Hulk, but the arms that I guess that's Donnerman's art, but that's well done. If anybody should be any female in the Marvel universe should be well defined, it should be a female Thor.
Yeah.
On those muscles.
Page 101. Panther's Quest reprints a Don McGregor story back from Marvel Comics Presents or something like that. So it's kind of like there's kind of like this Don McGregor unofficial trilogy of Black Panther stories, and I think this is the middle part, and then Panther's Prey was like the third part of that unofficial trilogy. So this is and again Gene Colan art, and this cover by Bill Reinhold. You don't see his name floating around a whole lot anymore. So that was kind of neat to see on that issue. And I don't know what it is about these coloring books that they have coming out now. So there's a Black Panther coloring book, and anytime you see penciled by Various, there's got to be at least a couple of Kirbys in there someplace, especially when we talk about Black Panther. So
yeah. I just think with the comic industry in general, that's got to be a no-brainer. You've got black and white art as part of your production process. Why not, exploit it this way?
Yeah.
Back on 98, we've got the Star Wars Legends Epic Collection Legacy Volume 2. The Legends banner is sort of what they published the old Star Wars stuff under. Legacy was a book that Dark Horse did when they had the Star Wars license for so long. Now Marvel's reprinting it. Legacy was, I feel like, one of the better books they did by John Ostrander. It was about 100 years after Luke. It's one of his descendants who's just sort of a bounty hunter scoundrel kind of character now, and sort of his struggles with the Force and that kind of thing. It was definitely darker. Luke appeared as a Force ghost when he was high, basically, is what you had in that.
Gotcha.
But it was a really fun book. It wasn't too tied down to any of the other continuities, so they kind of do what they wanted with it. And that was a really fun book. I assume Volume 1 came out and I didn't see it, but if you like Star Wars books, it's definitely one to pick up.
So why is Marvel reprinting the Dark Horse stuff, but they're letting IDW print new books?
I don't understand.
That doesn't make
Yeah.
what in the heck
IDW,
is going on there?
kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were right there with the Dark Horse stuff, too. The day they got the license, all the Comixology Star Wars was rebranded Marvel.
Wow.
Like, they were on top of it. They knew it was coming. They were ready for it.
How are they treating this stuff now that this is Dark Horse stuff and they're reprinting? Is it all canon? Do you know what I mean?
I assume no.
I think EU, has always been kind of
Okay, just
iffy
always
with
kinda-
Star Wars stuff in general. But yeah, this is well, see, that's the thing though too. Specifically with Legacy, it's so far in the future. This is after Luke's dead.
Oh, huh.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you're reading the Marvel Star Wars books now, it's not really going to be any crossover with that. I can't think there's going to be too much that would contradict anything that far ahead.
Okay, so that's probably
Same thing with like Knights of the Old Republic. That was set like 4,000 years before the movies. And then you had like the Darth Bane stuff that was in the past. So it's like you can still enjoy these books on their own.
Gotcha.
It doesn't really contradict the monthly stuff that they're doing.
Okay.
Now, the stuff it seems like every time a company picks up the license, they want to do what happened after A New Hope. So you've probably got 5 different versions of those stories out there that
Right.
probably all contradict each other.
Page 110, I'm going to throw out the reprinting of the first trade of Power Pack just because it would be a terrific comic to get a young reader, who likes to read, interested in comics. You can't imagine any, young teenage kid not imagining getting superpowers. So there's a story about young teenage kids who all of a sudden have superpowers, and it's it's pretty intelligently written, Louise Simonson. So it's something for a young reader to think about.
And you can get a lot of those if anyone wants to go back and dig through back issues. There's a lot of power packs.
Yeah, a
Yep.
lot of power packs.
I know for sure there's at least one issue of issue number 1 back there.
Yeah.
So I saw that the other day. So that's it for me for Marvel.
Well, on page 116 here, we have Punisher Max, the Complete Collection, Volume 7. I don't want readers to be put off by that Volume 7 tag. This collects Jason Aaron's entire Punisher Max run that he did from issue 1 to 22. This sort of takes off where the Ennis run ended. And again, like we were saying earlier, it's like Jason Aaron could do no wrong. I'm really only a fan of really Garth Ennis's and a little bit of Chuck Dixon's Punisher runs. Jason Aaron did a great job, though. It's basically in continuity with the Ennis runs, but it brings in Kingpin, Bullseye, and Elektra. And just like how would Frank Castle deal with these characters, aside from, the regular Marvel continuity. So you can they definitely did some more interesting things with that, and it is a great kind of end to that run of the character. You don't need to read 1 through 6 to enjoy this, but read 1 through 6 anyway because they're great. But this really kind of stands on its own. I'm surprised they are doing it as Volume 7, but I know it was part of the Punisher Max line, so I assume that's why. But it's a really good read, and there's some really great stories in there. Right after that, too, we have Cable, the Nemesis Contract. This was a run I've kind of been interested in for a while because we have some really good penciled issues by Jose Ladron, I'm assuming is the pronunciation. He did a real Kirby-esque sort of version of Cable there for a couple years. It's something I've always kind of been on the fence about finding and tracking down, and I know we have some of them in the back room here, but I thought that's just an interesting run, and I'm not sure why they're reprinting it right now. I don't know if it ties into anything, but
there were some things about the death of Cable, and like on a Deadpool issue, of course, that's not going anywhere. But they made us, and then he's supposed to be in the second Deadpool movie,
right? Yeah.
So maybe they're getting ready for that. Who knows?
Yeah. In the posters here, we've got a cool Marvel 2-in-1 poster of Alex Ross's variant cover,
and you get to see what they look like this month.
So,
hoorah!
Well, except for the 2 at the bottom.
Right.
We've got an Avengers by, I assume that's Mark Brooks poster, and then a Guardians one. But yeah, and there's Ed Piskor poster too of his X-Men Grand Design covers. And I think that's it for me for Marvel. You guys good?
Back of the book.
I'm good.
Page 252. Under Abstract Studios, the second and final trade of Terry Moore's Motor Girl, and if you missed the first trade, you can actually order both of those this month. So you can get volumes 1 and 2, and that is a pretty good story. So I've read the first trade, and I'm ready to read the second trade on that one for sure.
At the bottom of that page, we have Rock and Roll Biographies, System of a Down. If you're a big System of a Down fan, here you go. It's written by Michael Oschenker, who did a book I picked up years ago called Holy Ghost El Gato, which was about a luchador superhero character. And I don't know if I've seen anything from him since. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I'm not sure how he got involved in this or what the backstory of this project is, but that kind of stood out to me. I don't think I have anything else again until Antarctic.
Well, I'm to 296 is all. That's where I'm at. Okay. We're on the same page. So you go until you hit 296.
The only thing I want to point out was Antarctic seems to do one sort of interesting T-shirt every month. This one is a takeoff of the MOB logo with not Luke Skywalker and the little training droid that just says Jedi at the bottom. Oh, yeah. I think that's kind of a cool graphic T-shirt. I assume it skirts copyright law somehow, but it's an interesting shirt. Get it while you can, I guess. After that, we're going into Archie, and we've got Mighty Crusaders #1, written by Ian Flynn, who had a long run on Sonic at Archie, and then he also did the New Crusaders that came out a couple years ago. And again, this is Archie's Golden Age superhero characters that they try to revisit every few years. My history with these kind of go back to the 90s Impact books that they did in conjunction with DC that I really enjoyed. I'm going to check this out. Hopefully they make a go of it this time because I like the New Crusaders, but it didn't stick around for too long.
I'm almost certain that the Shield predates Captain America.
I've heard that too. I can't remember right off. I wasn't there.
Well, there was. That's the reason why the shield changed, was because of the shape matched another character. So that's why they went to the circle
Cap
shield.
shield.
Caps. Yeah, that's why they went to the
yeah.
circle
Right,
shield,
yeah.
because they didn't want to fight a lawsuit, so
right.
they switched it.
Switch the tight shield.
But Captain America is still a better character. So 296. You go. 296. You go.
Just, I mean, it intrigued me because stories with a religious context are no matter how much they sort of teeter on the edge of sacrilege, I'm sort of tempted to read. Then again, I don't want to be, I don't. This is called Judas #1. It's a 4-issue series, and Jeff Loveless is he's an award nominated writer. I think he wrote Marvel's Nova, but he's exploring the biblical character of Judas and sort of how it played into the quote unquote the greatest story ever told, and how Judas's actions was a sacrifice in itself. And I'm definitely interested. If I read the first issue and it goes too far, then I'll probably peel back. But
I'm in the exact same boat as you on that. I enjoy things that have an apocryphal feel to them with regards to religious writings, things that are kind of outside of what you would normally get. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. And this is kind of like why I like the first and the third Indiana Jones movie and don't care for the second one, because I can relate to what they're searching after in the first and the third, and the second one is just a nonsense story to me.
It's not because the second isn't that good.
Well, it also has to do with that, So, but yeah, any type of apocryphal thing like this, I usually something that I have an interest in. So I'm gonna give that one a shot too. So, but I'm like you. Sometimes you're kind of concerned about what that actually could be talking about. So, my next thing's on. Just turn over next page. Unless you were going to say something about it.
Well, real quick side note on the Judas thing. Did they come out and confirm that Phantom Stranger in the DC Universe is Judas? I feel like they were heading that way a few years ago in the New 52.
There was an issue of Secret Origins, I believe. It was that issue.
Is this the
they
80s series?
Gave us 4. It was the 80s series that Roy Thomas, his brainchild, and really did a lot of Golden Age characters, of course, because that's what Roy wanted, and he deserved it because they took his Earth 2 away from him.
Right.
But it was one of the best issues of any comic I've seen in a long time. It gave 4 possible origins of the Phantom Stranger, one of which was that he was Judas Iscariot, and he was forever damned to walk the earth. Since then, I believe that is the origin that they have considered the official origin, which I think that was under Dan DiDio's.
Yeah, I think during the New 52, they had him start wearing a necklace of the 30 pieces of silver.
Oh.
And so I feel like I think it was in the Trinity of Sin, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds
and like
right.
around the Pandora stuff, and I didn't pick up any of that, but I think that's where that was going.
They should have left it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. The Phantom Stranger's a character you don't need to know his origin.
You don't.
Right.
Yeah, you
He's-
take away from some characters when you fully explain them.
He's a stranger,
Yes. Dan, come on. Sit back. Let some other people write.
Page
back in
290. Okay, you.
Well, I got something back on 288
All right,
real
go.
quick. We're a couple weeks from Halloween right now, and we have some Nocturnals trades by Dan Brereton being reprinted. Why aren't these out already? Why aren't these out in time for Halloween? That's the perfect time to be picking up the Nocturnals and his work.
I'm not a big fan of Dan Brereton's art, though. I tried. He did was it the 7 Caskets or something? He did a Justice League prestige one-shot that I want to say it was the 7 Caskets.
Something like
the story
that.
was very good, but I just don't dig his art.
I really liked him on Batman Thrill Killer that he did. It was sort of an
yeah.
alternate 60s, Batman, Batgirl, Robin thing
Right.
that I really liked. I think he's kind of hit or miss, but I think just from, a marketing standpoint, why wouldn't you have that out before Halloween?
Yeah. 298. There's an Expanse graphic novel. That's a book that was made into a TV series on the Sci-Fi Channel. The show on Sci-Fi is really, really good. This is a prequel to that story, so I'm going to be picking that up. reading that one.
Back on 292 under Bongo Comics, we have SpongeBob Comics number 75. And I don't really read SpongeBob, but this is a special issue done by James Kachalka, indie superstar, kind of doing his take on SpongeBob. So this looks pretty interesting. I might check that out.
My daughter Megan is a huge SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I mean, going back because she grew up with it. Yeah, seriously.
I'm up to 352, so
Well,
you go.
back
until
on
you-
320, we've got Captain Canuck, Year 1, number 1. It seems like they've been trying to rebrand or reinvigorate this character the last few years. I think there was a free comic book day special a couple years ago. This one stood out to me because one of the writers is Jay Baruchel.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't realize he was involved in this.
I had no idea.
From Tropic Thunder,
Right.
and the Sorcerer's Apprentice, maybe. Yeah. So I found that to be interesting. I also saw the art is by Marcus Toe, who had a great run on Red Robin a few years ago. I don't know if he's had a project that high profile since. I think he did the New Warriors run on Marvel a couple years ago. And then we've got a cover by David Finch. So this might be the Captain Canuck book I have to pick up. And it's got like an introductory price, I'm assuming, of $1.99. So
Oh no, that's ongoing.
yeah.
Price sticks.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Drawing the line at $1.99. Are they?
for
Is that what's going
For
on?
that month.
Yeah. On 329, we have a book called 10 Frames Per Second, which is a hardcover where this artist, Johnny Woo, has done a lot of really interesting photography with action figures and things like that. There's some really cool shots here. I think I've seen some of his work online, and this is, I assume, is just a collection of that, but I've got some pretty interesting shots here that he's set up.
352 is where I'm at.
Okay.
So you go to
351. I just want to point out for people who might just be getting into comics, we've got the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, which is kind of the industry standard. Here they also have the Overstreet Guide to Collecting Comics, which might be useful if you're just getting into it. And then we've also got the Guide to Grading Comics, which I picked up a few years ago, and I find that to be really helpful. Mm-hmm. But there's some other sort of, reference guides here for people that might just be getting into comics.
If you're a comic cover person, on page 352, they're reprinting the Photojournal Guide to Comics. I know you've got a set of those on the shelf, but I think these might be based on the. Oh no, actually they're $30 for the Marvel ones. So I don't know if those are hardcover or soft. They say hardcover, so they are hardcover books of those, and they have lots of covers. So if you're a cover person, like to just sit and look at covers, you might want to pick those up, and you can come in and pick up the ones on the shelf here that Mike's already got here.
Got them here.
I typically I'll go online. There's a comicspriceguide.com that I'll go to just to grade what I have, but every 5, 6, 7 years I need to get a new Overstreet.
Yeah.
And I'm due.
Yeah.
I think the last one I got was 2010. So
I mean, the way those have run lately, it's a good. If you don't have one, get one. But once you have one, it seems like even more and more, especially lately, Scott, you probably back me up on that. It seems like the only thing that changes, like within just one volume to 2 volumes, is key issues.
Key issues, yeah.
Everything else pretty much just stays the same. So,
Well, that's what I've found this year. Just from going around to the local conventions and stuff, and my buddy Josh kind of informing me some of the stuff I've got that I bought years ago has really spiked.
Yes.
I've got some early key Harley Quinn issues that I bought for $2 when they came out. Some of them are going for like $400 now, and I just like, I've got that. I don't pay attention to what that book's going for now, and it's like, I need to put that up.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
yeah, so the moral of the story is get a guide if you don't have one already, and it'll last you for a while.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
definitely get the grading comics.
it's very helpful.
I got
think if
the original version from back in the 90s, and it was just impenetrable. It was he had a 100-point scale. It was just, I was, a teenager. I could barely make sense of it. The revamped version they came out with a couple years ago is way more streamlined. I think it's a 10-point system. I think that's probably what he's still using. And a lot of great pictures in it.
Yeah.
That's what all the grading services base their numbers off of, is that 10-point scale. So it's
and just really great examples of every grade and different permutations and kind of damage and what to look for.
It's like not cramped. It's like one cover
per page.
And it points out chips, corner folds, this and that.
Yeah.
It points
And
all that
again,
stuff
it's like
out.
I'm not selling comics to everybody all the time. I don't need to know the minutia of it, but it makes me more aware of what I'm looking for when I go buy stuff.
Here's what I can't understand. You got this comicbuyersguide.com. why doesn't Overstreet have an ongoing real-time grading website? Even sell it as a subscription service where you can put your collection in as an online, put it in a database. But to me, you could get some subscriber revenue
Right.
by having that online. I mean, it's granted it's nice to see this in a
Is
book,
he?
but
Are they associated with ComicPriceGuide.com?
no, I don't
Not at
believe
all.
so.
Okay.
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, the other thing too is really kind of watch for the Overstreet. That does, I mean, there are other price guides out there and things like that, and there have been fly-by-night ones over the years. But Overstreet has been kind of the industry standard for a long time.
Wizard Magazine.
Yeah, Wizard and their inflated prices. But hey, it told me my What Works #1s were $20 before it came out.
There you go. Yeah.
So what's wrong with that?
Sure, man. Yeah,
And for everyone, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I was going to say, I did buy a database program here that, you get subscription service, you pay so much per year and you get updates and everything like that. It's called Comics Base, and it's very informative. It's good. It's not tied at all to Overstreet, but they do have their own marketplace online. And so it kind of is live pricing, but what it tends to be is, I don't know that this program makes a differentiation between a graded book that sells online or an ungraded. Because, I
right.
mean, I'll look at Overstreet and it'll be like a $20 book. I look at this program, it's like a $200 book. I'm like, there's something.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and don't assume that your ungraded book is going to sell for the same price as a graded
Exactly.
book.
And
Yeah.
it shouldn't.
You know,
Yeah.
it's night and day with that
Yeah.
Well, you
stuff.
said you bought Comic Base. I looked at Comic Base, but I could tell it was a product more for stores. It had more
Right.
features that would benefit a store. I bought the Collector Z.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've got.
Oh gosh, I love it. I spent 6 months indexing and putting everything in it, that I had already, and
Right.
I dutifully put my new stuff in or anything I buy in it right,
Right.
away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not here to sponsor that
Right.
program, but
Yeah.
it is really
No,
a
right.
good
No, right,
program.
with the
Updated
Comic
frequently.
Base.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
thing that's really good that I ended up using Comic Base for at this point, is making sure you're comparing the book apples to apples, because it
Right.
comes with pictures
Yeah.
of all covers, that you can blow up to look at. And there's so many different covers or variants or variations. Is this the book that I'm really looking at? So I use it more for information. It's great for information about individual. It covers like 400,000 books.
Right.
I mean, through all eras. So you can find out what you're looking for, and then kind of look at Overstreet, what it's doing. Look out online, see what people are actually paying for the book.
Yeah, well, that's the real value of Overstreet Price Guide, is not the pricing that you get from Overstreet, but the information about what the key issues are. Here's the first appearance of a character, so
Yes.
you know which ones. Because you'll find that on the Overstreet Price Guide, 90% of the books are not accurately priced for what you would actually sell them for. You got most of them are priced too high. Anything that's cover price in Overstreet is a quarter to dollar book.
Exactly.
And then anything some of the keys, you can see those going for double or triple sometimes what they have in Overstreet. So
Yeah, I
it's
think
a
that's
high
also a
grade.
bigger thing too in the industry that people I don't think always realize is some of it's regional too.
Right.
Just because a
Right.
book is selling for a lot out somewhere else doesn't mean it is here.
Very true.
Like Marvel Legacy, how many copies do you still have in the
Do I
store
still
of that?
have? Yeah. Too
Yeah.
many. Yeah.
Several. Some stores sold out though.
Right.
So it's like
Yeah.
look around.
But you're exactly
too.
right. Like we mentioned, like this is such, not promoting one over another. You like the characters you like, but this is just a DC centric store on whole. You know what I mean? So, yeah, what we sold on Marvel Legacy, was nowhere close to the DC Universe Rebirth
Right.
issue.
And I don't know that it's always been that way. This is a DC. I think this area being, I think a lot is.
Just
Not
very,
to go.
very, very intelligent customers.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to be biased because I'm
Right.
an apologist. I mean, there was a time when I was spending more time apologizing for DC's comics and decisions
Right.
than bragging on them.
Yeah.
And I see Marvel. The difference to me is that Marvel doesn't seem to learn from its lessons.
Right.
Right.
And Marvel still leads the pack in sales overall,
Dollar-wise, I
by
mean,
far.
so-
Right.
Not by far, but sufficiently.
Mm-hmm.
That if they fail, the whole industry fails.
Right.
So we really got to be. I mean, Marvel needs to get it together.
Right. What I've been involved with the store. Before buying it last year, I was involved with the store since like 2000. So what we always saw was like, because of Marvel's habit, publishing wise, of rebooting constantly, what we would find, not that DC doesn't, but they usually have a reboot and it lasts for a few years. Whereas Marvel's not that way. What we would always find was that, like, people that have subscription pulls here would put DC on their pull list because it's consistent, but we would always sell a lot of Marvel off the shelf, you know, and because people want to be able to not be committed to that book, you know, because
Right.
it can
Yeah.
change on a dime. You know, we don't see that as much anymore. Mostly people, you know, few Marvel titles sell off the shelf, not a ton. But it's not that it's not good stuff. It obviously is. It's just, you know, because it's selling well nationwide. Just
Yeah.
here, I would love to get those numbers. I would like to sell more Valiant. I would like to sell more
Right.
small publisher books. But, you know, people here are DC. So if you're a Marvel fan, come on in and start buying stuff here, man. Let's-
Please.
Yeah.
Something else that's neat in Previews Magazine is they have they don't show you the numbers, but they rank the top 100 comic sales, and like for June of 2017, the top 3 selling books were all DC books, but let's see, 10 of the next 11 are Marvel books.
Correct.
So, and then you have the one Image, Walking Dead, is, you know, the only thing that's ever even close to the top 10. Even in the top, I think I'm looking at the top 50, there's only one non-Marvel or DC book. Let's see, you got to go to, gosh, I'm looking at this upside down right now. So 82 to get your second non-Marvel or DC book. So out of the top 81 books, there are 2 that are not Marvel or DC. So I'm on page 385. So if you got anything before 385?
Nope.
Nope. All right. Letter 44, last volume of Letter 44. I read the first trade of that, and it was actually pretty good, but for some reason, I never ever continued in it. So now you're on the last volume, so it's a 6-volume series. So that might be something to jump in on now that you know there's going to be a complete story. It actually was pretty interesting. Got a lot of political intrigue and such. So it was kind of a fun read.
That's Charles Soule.
Charles
right?
Soule,
Yeah. He's writing Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah, he
Yeah.
has been anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm the 430.
Oh, 427. We've got a new
Just ended it.
number 1 for Quantum and Woody, which has the most variant cover of all time. Here in the listing, it lists that it is the first ever embossed, lenticular, die-cut, individually hand-numbered, and chromium-enhanced comic book cover, before being hand-stickered with a randomized 4th figure and printed with 2 unique foils and iridescent 5th ink. We have an asterisk, everything except glow-in-the-dark. We tried, though. The spirit of the 90s is alive in Quantum and Woody number
And
1.
all
Right.
of this in
I'm
one
gonna ask
book.
Scott because he's the only one here that could. Who does that remind you of? Woody. What person? What podcast personality?
Oh, because of the sideburns? You got
the mutton
Murd.
chops and
Mm-hmm.
that. And I know he's a big Quantum and Woody fan. And
Well,
I just,
you
which
know,
came first, the chicken or the egg? Did Woody?
yeah, you know that in the current issue of Batman, that CGS
Oh my
is
gosh.
referenced in that one. So
I'm friends on Facebook with Pants Chrisman. Not to run off to another podcast. Intense
Whatever,
CGS.
Marvel,
I'm
Unlimited,
available
other
in Salt Lake here
podcasts.
soon. I first noticed. Pants had put a post up of his. It was Brian Pants, Pantz, in the War of Jokes and Riddles, the latest issue. One of the 2-page spreads was multiple
civilian
portraits of
casualties.
civilian
Yeah.
casualties, and it said, so and so strangled by the Riddler, so and so stabbed by Two-Face, and it went on and on. Towards the bottom of the 2 pages were, I seen the post by Pants, and I was looking at as I was reading the comic. Where's somebody, a woman named Kelly Shane? Well, one of the podcasters on CGS is Shane Kelly. So Tom King's a known. He's appeared on their show before.
Multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah. He's friends with them. So then all of a sudden I sent it to Pants. I said, well, you're not the only guy referenced here, Pants. This is Shane Kelly, looks like, as well. And he goes, yeah, the whole cast is. So I'm looking down the line. Brian Deemer, Murd. And of course, this is only probably relating to people like Scott and I that listen to that podcast. But anybody listening to Comic Geek Speed, you'll know. But it's pretty interesting. Tom King put their doppelgangers or whatever you want to call it.
Is this in that
As-
2-page spread that they're looking at the victims
Yes,
of the
if there's a
story?
copy here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
If not, I'll send you a picture.
Page 430. We haven't dropped Matt Martin's name yet this podcast, and he'll be disappointed. He'll be disappointed if we don't. But he did educate me on the Ninja K question that I had last time. So apparently, this has now been a retcon where there's actually been a series of these ninja characters starting with A and working up to the letter K, which is the current one. So that is why it is now Ninja K, and then the next one allegedly will be Ninja L if they were to continue. So thank you, Matt Martin. For that information. And by the way, there's some Fox and the Hound comic books for you here as well. You can pick those up.
What page are you in? Because I didn't know. Did you pass up?
430.
Yeah, 422. There's one entry here. I'm a big fan of Golden Age comics. Anyway, I go online to the there's a public domain type comic website called Digital Comics Museum that you can go down. You can download digital scans of these old comics that are of characters that are no longer, protected.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan of quality characters. So this quality companion for only $32. If you're a fan of those old characters, and remember, this is where, the Freedom Fighters, Plastic Man, all those characters came from. They weren't even the Freedom Fighters back then. That was a DC invention. They just kind of brought all those characters like Phantom Lady, the Ray, Uncle Sam, and Black Condor into one group back in the 70s. But the no pun intended quality of those issues is amazing for the 1940s. I can't quote who all the creators are offhand, but if you like that kind of old stuff, go back and get this companion and get on Digital Comics Museum and read some of the old stuff for free.
Is that Tomorrow's publishing that? I guess I'm assuming.
I think it's on their page.
Yeah, Tomorrow's makes some great stuff. I got the Batcave Companion that came out a few years ago. I think it's out of print, but if you can pick that up, it's great. They also did the Kingdom Come Companion years ago that lists like every cameo, all this design work that Alex Ross did for the book. And it became a legal issue with DC by the time they actually published it, so it's very hard to get now. But if you ever come across that, pick it up. It's definitely worth it.
I've only got one thing left on 441, so you guys take it till you get to there.
I'm past that.
Well, the only thing I have left is on page 441. There's a Splatoon graphic novel from Viz Media. So those of you who are, I know there are a lot of people who are into that game, Nintendo game. So that would be something to take a look at. And they've done, I guess, manga for Legend of Zelda in the past as well. So that's just another Nintendo character or set of characters that are hitting comics now. And that's it for me. So you guys finish her up.
Well, I don't have anything until 456, where we're kind of in the art book section. Again, more Dan Brereton stuff that's, okay, it's coming out in time for Christmas. Why not Halloween? But then we've also...
bitter about that.
It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Right.
We also have Joe Sinnott embellishing life. I feel like it's rare that we see the story of an inker.
Yeah.
Right,
Now, again, this is Joe Sinnott, who inked Kirby, did a lot of Fantastic Four and other work with him. So if anybody was going to, I would think it would be him. But, that's kind of notable for that. If you guys have anything else, there's also Batman Nightwalker. Looks like it's a young adult novel coming out by Marie Lu. It's reading through the description, it feels like this could almost be like a Gotham novel. I'm kind of surprised it's not tied into the show. I don't have anything again until the shirts with graffiti.
What page is that?
That is 476.
I didn't plan on mentioning this, but on page 467, those of you who are Doctor Who fans, we are getting a female Doctor for the first time. I know that's sacrilegious to a lot of people, but I'm looking forward to those stories because the actress they have that I think is pretty solid. She was in I forgot the name of the show now. That was it's a Netflix series and it's British and I can't even remember, but it's actually pretty good. She plays a mother in that, so I think she's going to do an excellent job, and it gives them a chance to do some really great new stories. I keep wanting to say Torchwood, and I know that's not right because that was the Doctor Who spinoff series, and I'm just now talking, just trying to let it pop into my head.
Right.
So I'm going to stop talking now and let you guys go on, and I'll just scream it out. I'll just blurt it if I think of it. So Broadchurch
Oh.
on Netflix is actually pretty good. So and she's in that.
That
so if
worked
you-
out well for
Yeah,
you guys.
so if you want
Quit
to,
trying, and boom, it popped in
as,
there.
as soon as, if you want to get a feel for her as an actress, watch Broadchurch. So there we go.
On 476 in the graffiti design section, we have a metal shirt tying into the current DC storyline. This one's kind of cool. It's got sort of the cover art on the front, but then on the back it has the tour, which are all the individual issues that the story crosses over into. So it's sort of presented as a rock tour shirt. So that's kind of a cool
Oh, that is
concept,
cool.
kind of
Yeah.
keeping with the metal theme they've been doing with that.
Yeah, those titles are great. Could the name
Yeah.
of the event's metal, and all those tie-ins are doing. Could they be more metal?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Drowned,
Yeah.
the Murder
Dawnbreaker.
Machine, Dawnbreaker. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like it's just
you
so
can almost hear
metal.
him screaming.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Murder Machine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Red
The
Death.
Merciless. Yeah.
On 480, we have some more Geek Chic merchandise. We have a Arkham Knight Batarang letter opener.
Yes.
I will be using that to impale criminals
Very
with.
small criminals.
Yeah.
And then it looks like they also have the Wonder Woman Godkiller sword.
Yeah.
Is there a letter opener possibly?
No, that just says
Uh,
sword prop replica.
Oh yeah.
So
well, maybe yeah. I know they were doing a letter opener. In that,
yeah, I can't imagine they
yeah,
won't.
Yeah. So,
With that, on 482, we have WWE Classic Superstar Ric Flair deluxe robe. I'll tell you, okay, that's a deluxe robe. That is not as deluxe as some of Ric Flair's robes got. I'll say it right now. I don't see one feather
yeah,
on that
I know, I
robe.
like the feather boa.
So, I mean, yeah, there's that. We also have a Macho Man robe that looks pretty nice with his sunglasses on the back.
Okay, so Mike, I got a question for you on this stuff in the back.
Yes.
Do you have trouble getting that sometimes from Diamond, some of the non-comic stuff because of allocations, or if you ever order that stuff, do you tend to get it?
We tend to get it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't really seem to be a problem.
So I think a lot of this stuff probably shows up in other retail outlets too and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Haven't really had a lot of call, but to order it. But the stuff we have ordered, we've gotten it, no problem. Yeah.
I will take issue with the Star Trek Next Generation tunics not coming in my size.
Yeah.
I can't be the only one that's going to run into that problem.
I
I'll
almost
just-
mentioned it because it's funny how people it's like people divide divide themselves between different it's Cowboys or Steelers or whatever, but Star Trek or Star Wars. I've always, because my dad loves Star Trek, I'm more of a Trekkie.
Right.
I don't. When you guys start talking about Star Wars stuff, I only know just the bare minimum from watching movies at the theater. I've never gotten into the comics or the novels or anything. But buddy, I would love dearly to have that tunic and a phaser and a communicator.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
whenever
for-
StarTAC came out with the little flip phones that made a
Right.
little sound like,
Yeah.
I was in my 40s, and I was going around driving my wife crazy, acting like it was
Like
like a communicator. Beat me up, Scotty.
Well, I'll tell you what, for the low price of $599.95, you can get those tunics.
Wow.
Because they are pricey. I wonder, do they fit right when you sit down, or you still have to tug them like Patrick Stewart?
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like you should have to do that. It should be
It's
required.
mandatory.
Those should be
It's a-
tailored.
They're going to be authentic. Yeah,
They
exactly,
should be
yeah.
awkwardly tailored, so you have to pull them down when you sit.
Uncomfortable to sit in.
On page 584, if you were looking for alternatives, you mentioned the comic boxes
Yeah.
earlier on. They got a couple more comic boxes on page 584. So there's like a Joker one and then a Defenders team, which that's not any Defenders team that I've ever seen before, but there's a Defenders short box because it's got Spider-Man and Elektra on it. And so it's Kingpin in the background. I don't know why. I guess they're just trying to play off of Defenders on Netflix on that one.
Right.
Probably.
I gotta say, on page 507, the Batman design of this.
Oh yeah, that Mezco.
Yes.
112.
Yeah, he is. I don't know if it's a statue or if it's not a figure, is it? No.
Yeah,
It's
No, I think it is a figure,
It
right?
is a
Is it a figure?
Posable figure, yeah.
Okay, gosh, you can't even see the joints on it, but I love the design because that was his golden age.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like.
Those
a
112
really
figures, the
good-
Mezco figures, are really nice. They're 112 scale, so a 6-foot figure would be about 6 inches.
Yeah.
But the detail you get out of those, I have cloth costumes, which covers
Right.
the joints
Yeah.
and everything like that. And I've seen better pictures of this, and those little
Yeah.
things that jump out at you, because this is the golden age. He's got the purple gloves.
Yeah.
More
You
likely
know
to
what I
buy
mean? It's
it
just
than the
like-
Billy Batson.
Yeah, I've
Nice,
seen
bumpy looking sweater.
Yeah, I have seen other pictures of this Ascending Knight figure we're talking about online. It looks like it comes with a lot of
It
accessories.
does.
This is actually cheaper than I thought it was going to be, so I'm really on the fence about picking this up
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Was
They're
there an
really-
alternate?
Have you ever seen any of those figures?
I
They're
don't know
really
if I have or
nice.
not. I usually don't pay attention when the figures are that pricey, but this one, might have to pick up.
Yeah, we've had a few people that have ordered some, and Tyler has the Flash and the Reverse Flash
Mm-hmm.
ones. They're very nice. They're really nice.
So on 510, the Thor hammer, Mjolnir, does that actually pull up out its base, Mike? It didn't really say. It says role player hammer, so I'm assuming.
yeah, I'm sure. But yes, it's for
sure.
user cosplay.
It
Yeah,
says
it's
full
stuff.
scale electronics. So what does that mean?
It probably get like a thunder clap or something like that, So it's probably like
Oh.
for flashes or stuff like that.
Yeah, see here, Mike, it says, are you worthy to lift the enchanted hammer? So you can probably pick it up if you're worthy.
Oh, I see.
If you can wield the power of Thor, you can pick up this
I know how to
hammer.
take the
If
magnet
not,
out of that to
There
keep
you
it
go.
if not, it's probably just a paperweight for you.
But can an elevator lift the hammer? Or does that make it worthy?
Right. Back on 502, we've got the Justice League Ultimate Batmobile RC vehicle.
This thing is amazing. Dan showed me. A
Yeah,
video
this
of it
is
the other day.
they showed this at Toy Fair this year. This is the most intricate Batmobile I've ever seen. It's a toy and not a real car.
Right.
It is an RC vehicle. It will tie into your smart device. There are lights inside on the consoles in the cabin of the car. It has smoke coming out of the exhaust of this car.
Did
You
it say,
know.
like the profile, like you can, like the wheels will raise like 2
Yeah,
inches.
it'll
It's
raise
just-
and lower a little
yeah,
bit,
raise
so
and
you can make a
lower.
lowrider out of your Batmobile.
Yeah.
Maybe get some hydraulics going with it.
Okay, so what's on the ops page? What's up with these Tyrion Lannister versions of Batman and Superman? I mean, they're like they're called Justice League movie 14-inch team trainer figures. They look real stocky and
What page is that?
I'm not sure how big that is. 503, 14-inch tall. I feel like that's almost like those old Wrestling Buddy toys, but I don't think they're that
odd
big.
design.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's real cartoony looking.
I mean, their heads are way bigger than their bodies. I mean, their bodies are big.
Right. But on the next page, after that's 504 again, I'm gonna hit on the statues again. There's a really menacing, classic-looking Joker coming out from Tweeterhead. They're a little
That's my
pricey,
Joker.
but yeah, that's the Joker. A kind of killing joke version.
Style, yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice, but they're branding it with superpowers.
Yeah, I don't.
And it is that kind of classic Joker, but this does not say superpowers
No.
Joker to me.
No,
Right.
no.
I think
You
that
know.
I don't think that has anything to do with that toy line. This
This says
is
Marshall
Well,
Rogers.
here we have on the 505 on the ad for it, we have the superpowers star logo.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they are absolutely tying it
They're
into
tying
that.
but I
But
think that's
I
just
feel
an
like-
umbrella thing.
yeah.
They did a Mr. Mixus Pitalik, thing that was under that brand,
Right.
and stuff like that. The Supergirl we talked about last month is under that brand.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the
The Hyenas is under
The
that brand as well
Bugaloot.
because it's
Yeah,
advertised on the previous page on 504 and it has the
Yeah.
Superpowers logo. It
Odd-
says the 6th in a series and Joker is the 5th. in
Oddly
the
enough,
series.
the DC Universe big figures right under that look way more like superpowers
for
figures
sure.
than that
Yeah.
Joker does.
yeah.
Probably just in name only. Then they're probably
Yeah,
just for that.
but I would love to see statues based on Kirby's designs of those characters from back then. The figures were really nice even for 80 standards.
right.
So and I know some companies that have done like bigger versions of those now with the same sculpt and everything. But on 506, kind of to what Mike was talking about earlier with Billy Batson is Figures Toy Company is the name of the company. They did. Some Mego style Batman 66 figures here, and I've gotten a couple of those. They've been coming out for the last couple of years, but I didn't pick up too many of them till recently. But those are really nice figures too. It is sort of a retro kind of piece of merchandise for the Batman 60 show. And they gave us a bookworm,
Ah,
which is always fun. What did I have here?
And still no Justice League satellite.
Someday
beat that drum, Mike. You go.
on 5.
Tweeterhead might answer that. They do that real odd kind of stuff, so maybe eventually
Yeah.
they'll get there.
If you ever see it before I do, let me
Okay,
know.
I will.
On 519, we've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1/4 scale Raphael figure. I've been burned by some of the NECA stuff they've done the last couple of years, but man, that's a nice looking Raphael.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's got the trench coat and hat like from the first movie, which I loved as a kid, and so that one really speaks to me. I just don't see dropping the 120
Yeah.
on that with the luck I've had with those, but it is a nice looking
You
figure.
had an issue with your Batman 66, didn't you?
I had an issue with my Batman 66 and my Batman 89.
Oh, really?
So yeah, those will probably be a pass for me, but it looks nice. On 5/28, we've got some more Funkos, which will probably just be a regular part of this magazine for years to come.
Absolutely.
We've got the previews exclusive Red Sonja Bloody vinyl
Yes.
figure.
Yeah.
When I was glancing through the catalog, I'm like, why did they make a Red Sonja that's broken out? Because I did not pick it up that was blood
Bloody,
splatter.
yeah.
Right. So there's that, and there's some Rick and Morty Pickle Rick figures, and I haven't caught the new season, but everybody won't shut up about Pickle Rick, so get those
Check it
now.
out. That seems to be their Funko's go-to variant for some of this stuff, because there's a bloody variant of Daryl Dixon.
Yeah.
Pop, and it seems to, I guess it's
Again,
easy to do
yeah,
splatter.
just
Yeah,
splatter.
it's not a lot of extra work
Yeah,
to make
just
the base
fling-
one. Yeah.
Fling some
Paint
paint,
on it.
you're
Yeah.
good to go.
Yeah. I do have to say I kind of chuckled at the Ghost Rider pop. You know, it's one of their rides lines. So he's on the Hell Cycle.
Right.
You know, get two versions, regular and glow in the dark. It's one of the oversized ones and everything. So
It's
Yeah.
issue 15 of Ghost Rider.
Yeah. I don't know. I got that glow in the dark Harley, and I don't think that really works too
the
well.
glow doesn't work
Yeah. So I think if I was going to get something like that, I would get the regular
Yeah.
version.
well. Not
You know, not have an off white greenish
Yeah.
tint to my Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
On 540, there's a nice Marvel Universe Kai Arts, Play Arts Kai actually, War Machine figure. I'm not a huge War Machine fan, but this is a really nice looking figure.
I've never seen any of those. I
Yeah.
like in person. Yeah, they look nice. I don't know how they are.
Yeah, I've seen a few in
Quality.
stores, and that's the thing. I don't have any of them, but they look nice. But again,
Okay.
$150. I probably won't be
Yeah.
picking that up
Yeah.
either.
Mhm.
What we got here? Oh, on 543, going back to Doctor Who, we have a 12th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver Universal Remote.
Yeah.
I got one that came in the big DVD Blu-ray set a couple years ago, and I'm not sure if this is the same one, but it looks pretty similar. So if you have that box set, you may already have this, but I'm not sure if it's different or not. It does look nice, but it is $120.
It does say offered again, so
Yeah. So, where else we got here? Oh, on 566, we have some DC collectible things here. There is a Batman Black tie comic theme one, which looks like kind of a nice tie. I don't wear too many ties,
but if you did,
but you know,
that might be one you would wear.
yeah, I feel like that's sort of a, if you don't want to be super tacky with your Looney Tunes
Right.
tie, this one is kind of black on black. It's a little more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that on page 571, I want a Hand of the King replica pin. That is pretty darn cool. If anyone here is a Game of Thrones watcher.
You watch that.
On 579, we have the Ghoulsville Vactastic plastic masks.
Oh yeah, those.
I thought these look really cool.
They're very cool.
It's sort of the retro Halloween masks. They are $36
I know,
each.
I was gonna just notice that. That's crazy.
And as you've pointed out many times, will come out in December.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
yeah, but they are cool. They got like the London After Midnight, Vampire, the Man in the Beaver Hat.
Yeah,
they
the
got
Martian.
Mars Attacks, and
Now these are
Couple of
bigger though.
rides.
These are just according to the listing here, they're just under 2 feet tall. So
Oh,
this is
wow.
more of a
Sort of a wall
decoration.
hanger
Oh,
thing.
okay.
They're just like
that's
a Halloween mask. But again, I'm assuming, it says Vactastic. I'm assuming this is a Vac plastic,
yeah, probably that.
very
plastic
thin
thing.
kind of
Yep.
plastic mask.
Like you got as a kid with the rubber.
Yeah.
band on the back.
And that is nice, but man, I can't see dropping that
No.
much. And if they were cheaper, I'd buy them all.
Oh, I would too.
You know what I
I
mean?
was actually thinking about it when I saw that price. I'm like, ooh, I'm out.
They should have asked us.
That's right. You would sell more.
I
They made them smaller and lowered the price.
think that's all I've got.
While those guys
this
are
one.
finishing up, double checking the back of the book, there's one thing that you need to come to Campus Comics and check out. I'm sitting here staring at it. Is that Mike has a shelf dedicated to some local artists and things that they have done, books they produce. So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at like a Nathan Bonner and Davo book and Seamus Stone, and then there's some stuff from Justin Holman's, an art book up here. Brian Rhodes has got his new comic, Big Skink Tales, or from his, that's not the name of the book, but it's his quote-unquote
Six
company.
Legs, No Heart.
Six Legs, No Heart. There, thank you. And then you got some of the other stuff. You can point out there some of the other local guys that I don't know as well.
Well, we got a print here from, hopefully we'll get more from a local guy named Matt Speroni. He finally joined us on Batman Day, and we commissioned him to do a print as a giveaway that day. So he's got some prints in here. There's some art from Matt Miller that's still in here. Another local favorite. Some other cool things that get a lot of attention to people coming in the store. Some Halloween or horror style prop bottles that a local author does. He is published author. He wrote a series of werewolf books called Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter. But he's done some prop bottles based on classic horror movies, and there's some superhero themed ones over there too. You know, that you could fill with powder, and it says crushed stuff. This is a wolf's bane on it. So if you want to put together a nice Mad Lab look display or something like that, they're handy. And he also has some prop newspapers, that cover a lot of movies and things like that. Those are popular too. Like I've got the Jaws one. It's got an article in it about Quint, or stay out of the water, beaches closed for the holiday, stuff like that. So this, instead of getting a poster or something like that, for a room, just frame a paper and hang it on your wall. It's got articles about.
My son-in-law is
like
a big Halloween fan, as in the movie Michael Myers, and there's a bottle over there it says Michael Myers knife sharpening oil. I'm going to have to get that bottle for my son-in-law.
Yeah.
I also want to point out you have the new novel, The Selection, by Jason J. Nugent,
Yes.
with
that's
an
right.
with an amazing cover on it. The best.
One of the local graphic art geniuses does the cover for Jason Nugent's books, and he's sitting right across from me.
That's right.
And I'm actually wearing a Jason Nugent T-shirt right now.
Another beautiful design.
That's right. Very Blue Moon Burgers, very cool. Done by our man Dan here. So come out and support local guys. There's, it's a lot of talented people in this area. And they're putting out their own stuff, trying to just do their own thing as fans, and so come out and support those guys.
Are we done?
Are we done?
Everybody, do you need last?
I've completed everything. I thought I had a pretty comprehensive list, and I still kind of ran out of things before some people. So
Yeah, I think our work here is done.
yeah,
We're pushing an hour and 50 minutes right now.
really?
So so we're
You're welcome.
Right.
So
All right. So you just want to.
you want to take us out?
All right, sure will. Again, come see us at Campus Comics. We're the store right here on the Main Street, 816 East Main Street. We're in Suite B, right next to Mike's Music, and Plaza Records is down the way. Again, get a guitar, buy some CDs, whatever. Come and buy some comics. One thing I would like to let you know is we're talking about the previews catalog. It's not just available for retail stores. That's what we used to order, but you can come in, pick up a copy of it. Cover price on it's $3.99, and make sure, because there's thousands of things in this book that there's no way we can cover it all. I mean, this thing comes out every month. It's like 600 pages of product. There's no way we can talk about it all. There's bound to be something in there. If you have a pull list here with us, add it to your pull list. Get one every month. Stay abreast of what's going on. If you don't have a pull list, when you stop in, just ask about it. It's super simple to do, and that way you just prevent having to come every week and hoping your favorite books don't sell out. Super simple. Will help you get going with that. So come in, get a pull list set up, get your previews. Again, that was our address. Our phone number is 618-457-6011. We're here. Our hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 6 p.m. So that's our hours. Just come in and see us.
All right, and if you want to reach me, Scott Reed, you can get me at birdcomics.com. Search on Facebook for Bird Comics. If you are also looking for back issues, and if you come to Campus Comics and you can't find them in the excellently sorted back room that is now here, where there are tens of thousands of books, feel free to send me an email with a want list at admin@birdcomics.com, and I would be glad to see if I can help fill any gaps in your collection.
Now, Scott, when I go to look at Berg Comics, is it like Iceberg?
It's B-U-R-G. Thank you, B-U-R-G, because that is Harrisburg, which is the town that I currently live in. So Harrisburg, B-U-R-G, comics.com, and thank you for pointing
You're
that
welcome. If you want to, this is Dan. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at Detective651. My blog is detective651.wordpress.com.
And I'm Mike Atchison. I'm on all the routine social media outlets. You'll find me. Just look for Mike Atchison in Illinois. There's only one.
One of a kind. Yep. But and I forgot to mention, of course, we're on Facebook too. Just look us up, Campus Comics on Facebook page. Give us a like. Keep track of what's happening in the store, what's coming out. So I guess that'll do it for this month's edition of the Campus Comics Cast. And we'll get a new previews in a couple of weeks. Cutoff date for this one, if you find stuff in this catalog that you want to order, is October 27th is when I have to have my orders in for that. So get your order in if there's something you want. And until next month, just keep reading comics and come and see us.